In this video, I'm going to go over some of the features of the flnet program. A couple of things to keep in mind. My screen, as you'll see here, actually has no Windows decorations for the windows. I use a window manager called Awesome, and I use Linux, so it does not put the Windows decorations on, so I can make the most use of the screen real estate that I have. All 12 monitors. But one thing to keep in mind here is the screen is a little bit small for my eyes, and up at the menu bar up top there's this thing called size. If I click on it, it makes it a lot bigger, easier for me to read. All right, this is going to be an overview and use of the program. A couple of things to keep in mind is there are a few bugs with flnet. Or at least they appear to be bugs to me, and I've got an email or two into Dave to try and get them fixed. But one of the things to keep in mind here is this text up above the suffix prefix area is the database file, which happens to be a comma separated value file, or kind of like a spreadsheet file. Is the it's the net that you're currently in, or the database that you're looking up against when you enter in call signs that are checking into this net. So as you can see, I'm using a file called ccdx1.csv. There's not a lot of room here, so you're going to need to keep it small. And also it shows how many records are in that database or CSV file. There's 56 currently. All right, I'm going to go over a quick operation so you can see how to use it. In the suffix field, the prefix field, and the area field, that's where you enter in the call signs of the stations checking in. It defaults to the suffix field. You won't see a blinking cursor there, right? There's nothing there indicating it, but I'm going to type in my call since I'm the one running the net. I'm going to type in VGM. That's the suffix, right? You'll notice that my call sign pops up here and it's red, and it's the only one. There's not more than one. Because it's the only one, I can just hit enter and select that call sign without typing in my whole call sign. In other words, I'm just typing in the suffix VGM and I hit enter. It puts my call sign in here, my name, what time I checked in, and this is one of the function keys that you can change, and we'll go over that in a bit. But you'll also notice that that database here, ccdx1.csv, has some information about me in it. My name, my wife's name, my QTH, my email, last check-in, number, that's if I had a net number, if it was assigned one, if my phone number, if it was in there, and then kind of like some more information fields. You can take a look at that information by hitting the editor button, which is also the F12 hotkey. So I'm going to click editor up top from the menu bar, and you can see it's giving me the file that I'm in, how many records, and notice that this information is not mine. It's somebody else's. Well, why is that the case? Because I just hit the editor and I opened up the editor. I didn't open up the editor for me. Remember how I said you could open it with the F12? Well, if I hit the F12 key while these little arrows are pointed on my call sign, now you can see that it's open to my call sign with my information there. All right. I can change some information and update it, or just close it. I'm going to close it in this case. That's basically how this works. So even though the cursor doesn't appear to be in any field, it's actually in the suffix field by default, and it also allows you to do other keystrokes that affect other fields as well. But I'm going to put in Neil, E1P. His suffix is just P, and he's the only one in there with the suffix of P. And I say of P instead of starting with P, because that's how this works. You have to have the entire suffix in there correct in order for it to work. It doesn't just match on the first letter of the suffix. If David programmed that like that, then you'd get multiple people showing up, and you'd have to type out select from the multiple people to get the one that you want, and it would take longer. So I'm just going to hit enter. I put Neil in here. I've got this other guy, W1HKJ, and I'm going to put his Y, Z, N. There it is. Hit enter. You can see how fast it is to enter a call sign. I just entered the suffix of the call sign. Now, if they're not in there already, then that's a little bit different, right? So I'm just going to say I've got suffix of ZZ, and now his prefix. I'm going to hit the tab key, and you'll notice now the prefix here is highlighted blue. I'm going to put in, we'll call him a AE in the area. I'm going to tab again over, and I'm going to put a 1. So he's not in there. There's no call sign showing up down below, obviously. I'm going to hit enter, and now I've added him to the check-ins. Now, if he gives me his information, I could go down to his call sign and hit F12 and put a new entry, and I'll just put in Ted. This isn't a valid call sign to my knowledge. I just grabbed it out of the air, and I'm just going to hit save. So now I've got Ted's name listed there. Again, I could hit F12 on his and edit it some more if I wanted to, or I could go to Bruce's and F12 and edit his. So I get my check-ins here, and now I've got this list of calls that have checked into the net. So myself, I'm the actual net controller, right? I'm going to separate that, and also somebody else that's just monitoring to the net can put this information in too. But you want to mark who's the net manager or is running the net. So in this case, I'm going to use the hotkeys. There's hotkeys F1, which basically makes it look exactly like you see it here. White background with black text. F2, blue background with white text. F3, green with green or yellow. It's kind of hard for me to see that. I'm colorblind. F4 is red with white text. So I'm going to leave it F4 and say, hey, F4 is kind of me indicating who the net manager is or net controller is. And in this case, you can see that there's also an A after that. Well, there's some other hotkeys in here. F5, F6, F7. So it's actually F6, F7, and F8 that change between 3 different flags, we'll call it, right? So I've got this flag A. I could use that to indicate whether or not the person has past traffic or has traffic. I could also use colors to assign that, you know what I mean? I could say, okay, if someone has traffic, I've highlighted in blue. Or again, like I said, I could use those hotkeys. Well, I could use a combination of those hotkeys on color and the flag, right? We can say blue, the blue background means that the person has traffic, and the F5, which blanks it, by the way, F6 makes it an A, F7 makes it a B, and the F8 makes it a C. That could indicate whether it's priority, traffic, or just regular casual traffic. So how do we do that? We go into the configure dialog right here. I'm going to click on colors. You can see number 1 that you can configure the colors, foreground and background, right? Those are those, again, F1, 2, 3, and 4 hotkeys. And then the priority is what we're talking about. So this is a priority flag, right? We can change it from A, B, and C to emergency, routine, and welfare, right? And then there's this other thing, the state list. I'm not going to go into that. There's some more functionality that you can do depending on what type of net you have. And you can auto order it by priority. It's complex, and I'm not going to do that. But so notice I still have my A's in here that I set. Well, I'm going to clear that out, and I'm going to go back to F6 is E now. F7 is R. F8 is W. So you can make this program pretty much your own and set it up however you want to run your net. The neat thing about it is that there's a lot of functionalities that you can customize there. All right, so this is basically how it works. There's some other hotkeys here like F9, and if you notice, I'm hitting F9 right now, and F10. I'm moving the call sign that I had highlighted up and down the list. So if you would rather move somebody up on the check-in list because, say, they're mobile, and let's say WAYZN is not a mobile, or let's say he is. I'm going to move him up on the list. I'm going to hit F9, and I'm going to put him first. Let's say he's mobile. So I want to get him before he gets out of the area, so I moved him up there. And again, I could set those flags to be mobile, portable, or base. I could set those flags up to mean anything I want, and the colors as well. So it's however you want to set it up and to do whatever you want. So This list scrolls. It keeps scrolling. If you've got more contacts that are more call-ins that are listed here, it will scroll down off the screen and back up, and it'll tell you how many call-ins are right here. So total call-ins. And one of the key things about this program to realize is you have to use the file exit to get out. Okay, here's a couple of downsides of this program. If you hit the X that I don't have up here, or in my case, Control or Windows Shift C to close it, you're going to exit the program without saving the data to the file. So you won't have the data saved of the check-ins that you just made. Any changes that you made to the database will save, but anything that you put in this check-in list here, this call-in list, will not save if you don't go file exit. Okay, keep that in mind. It's very important that you'll miss some important information if you close it the wrong way. So file exit when you want to exit. Okay, the other thing about file exit is not only does it exit the program, it doesn't allow you to get back into this net to pick up where you left off. As soon as you exit, you're done. So in other words, if your computer crashes, you close this out accidentally and you go back in, you can't go back in. This is a live running net. It doesn't actually save the working net to a temporary file. Maybe one of the features that Dave will add in the future. But it does, once you file exit, it does save it to a text file that you can view later on. You just can't load it back up into this program. All right, that's the basic operation of it. Again, use the editor to edit the call that's underneath these arrows. Actually, by pressing the editor, it just opens the editor. In general, you can scroll through all the contacts there, right? In this case, 57 of them. So to edit that one, use the editor by hitting F12. Okay, and now I'm on that particular call sign. All right, and again, call signs go in here. So let's actually bring up that editor and let's take a look at some calls. So I've got BAC, CHJ, CIR, CJL. So some C's, right? So what if I type in C now? Nothing's coming up. J, nothing's coming up. L. Notice, like I was saying before, you have to type in all of the letters that make up the call for the suffix in order for it to show it on the screen. Again, makes it easier for you to minimize the amount of calls to choose from. But if there's more than one call, let's say you had an N1 CJL and an AE2 CJL, they'd both show up in this list right now, and you'd have to use the down arrow to choose between them, although I can't really show you that because I just hit escape, by the way, and cleared the suffix out in case I entered it wrong. So CJL, escape to clear it out. Basic functionality. Now for the bugginess. Okay, bugginess is if you open a net, file open. Well, first off, I'm going to exit out of here, right? I want to save this. Do I really want to? Sure, why not? And then I'm going to start it up again. But I'm going to change the size. But notice it started up with the same net I had last time. Okay. I don't want to do ccdx1. I want to open another net. And here's my file name down here that it's defaulting to, right? And it's highlighted up here. And these buttons up here, you can click to navigate back down the tree, the directory tree really quick. You can also save a directory into your favorites, which you can see I have done here. But let's say I want to do this ccdx AriesNet. Okay, I click OK. Now I've loaded the ccdx AriesNet. Well, let's say I want to create a new net. The way that the instructions tell you is you click File Open and you type in a new name here that's not existing, and I'm just going to call this zx.csv, and I'm going to click OK. By the way, there's also a preview here of the net. I did forget to mention that, a preview of the calls that are in the net. Now I click OK. You'll notice a couple of things. One, it didn't erase the text over here, okay? A little bit of a bug from the previous net, didn't erase it. Number two, it gave me my new name, but it kept the context from the previous net. Not really what I want to do. And the reason why you really don't want to do that, you might say, oh, but I got all the same people checking in. But if you click in the editor, you can now see how many times he's logged in. Well, he hasn't logged into this brand new net 17 times. He logged into the other net 17 times. So there's a bug there. When you go to create a new net, even though the document tells you to do file open, don't. Really what you want to do is you want to start a new net from the command line in Windows and the terminal and Linux by just typing flnet and give it a name. And you really want to put in the directory to where it's going. Otherwise, it's going to put it in your default directory. So I'm going to put in my case, my username's user, and I'm going to put it in flnet.files because that's where it was keeping them. And then I'm going to call this zx.net. Okay. Now, I didn't save that other one, at least I don't think so, but it might have. We'll find out. So I'm going to hit enter. A couple of things. You can see the FLDigi trying to communicate, or FLnet trying to communicate with FLDigi and given the errors behind the scenes here, which I don't care about. But you'll notice now it doesn't say my file name up here, and there it doesn't have any information in there. So I'm going to put in my call sign, tab KA1, hit enter. So I'm new. I wasn't in there now, but if I type my call sign in again, nothing. It hasn't saved it yet. That's because nothing is saved on this yet. So let's try this. I'm going to hit F12 and I'm going to put in my nickname, and I'll just put in my address, 134 Farm Road, and I'm going to save it. So now I've got my information in there, and if I hit F12, it's got it there. I'm good. I can close that. And now it's got my net names there, zx.net, because now that I actually edited the information for a person and updated it and saved it, it actually saved that net information. So it's called zx.net. I should have called it zx.csv, right? Because it's really a CSV file, and I want to be able to edit easier. So I called it the wrong name. I can't change that from in here. It's just something to keep in your mind when doing it. So I just created a new net. I did it from the command line because there's a bug that prevents you from doing it correctly, in my estimation anyway. Otherwise, I mean, if you wanted to do it the other way, you could go in a text editor or a spreadsheet and edit that information. So I'm going to exit this. So I exited this net, by the way, and it's called zx.net. So if I actually want to see that file, I'm going to change to that directory, and I'll just list these out, right? There's that zx.net there, right? It doesn't care what you keep it as, right? But if you look up above it, there's this thing called zx.csv. Which one's which? Well, if I go to edit it, right, I'm going to use LibreOffice Calc, and I'll do zx.csv. Oh, CALC, LibreOffice Calc. Okay, open it up my other window. Automatically determines as a comma separated file. I click open. You can see this wonderful file here that's got all the information, including the number of logins. Well, I guess if I really wanted to use that old file, by the way, you'll notice that this was the .csv, the one that I first put in, and not the .net. It's got all of that old information in there. I could technically just say, you know what? Yeah, I want to keep it. I'm going to just clear out the cells, though. I don't want to delete that. I actually want to clear those cells out. So, it's been a while. Clear direct formatting, merge cells, delete contents. Here we go. Click OK. And log date. That's the last login date. I can clear that one out too, right? I don't need to know that. Delete contents. Everything else looks good though, right? For the most part, I could keep all that. Maybe the comments need to be cleared out, but that's one quick way to get around that bug or even not get around the bug and use the same file over and over again, and not have it carry the old information over again. Again, that zx.net was the second one that I created from the command line. So technically, it should only have my call sign in there, right? And open it over here, and I click OK, and I'll notice it's only got my information. It doesn't have anybody else's. Last time I logged in, number of logins, and the address. The only information that I put in there was my call sign, my address, and the log data grabbed automatically, which was basically the last login date, I believe, and the number of logins. That's simply how you can use it from the command line, although a lot of people probably are not fond of using it from the command line. So hopefully Dave works on fixing some of the bugs, like there should be a file new to create a new net so it doesn't bring over the old data. Well, that's the basic functionality of flnet. And the last thing I want to show you, I guess, is the file. Remember how I said it kept that information in there? Well, it keeps it in your net file dash the date. And this is date UTC, I believe. So be careful if you have your net at 9 o'clock at night, that could have tomorrow's date on it instead, right? So I'm just going to view that, right? I'll just view it in the text editor, console-based text editor, and all this zx.net and dash. And as you can see, all it keeps in there is the call sign, the name, and the time they checked in. Actually would have had, if I had one that flag at the end, A, B, C, or whatever I had set those to, it would list that as well. That's it. That's as simple as flnet is, and it can be very powerful if you run the net over and over again. Allows you to choose people's check-ins, allows you to sort the order any way that you want. If you decide that you want a mobile or portable station to be able to check in first or get called first, or if somebody leaves the net, you can flag them as a different color, or like I said, with those different flags, A, B, C, or whatever you put in there. And I know that was pretty complex, but keep in mind the bugs and operating idiosyncrasies, I'd say, if Dave doesn't think they're bugs. But with those in mind, flnet is a very powerful tool. Hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know if you have any questions.